That night, I sat alone in my room, the soft hum of the heater filling the silence. I found myself replaying every holiday I had spent sacrificing my plans for everyone else. Trips I wanted to take, small getaways with friends, even just quiet mornings to myself, I had given them all up without complaint. And not because anyone asked me to. It was assumed, always assumed, that I would step in, adjust, take the responsibility. I remembered the long hours spent packing snacks, choosing games, organizing schedules, making sure everyone else had fun. And somehow, in that quiet moment, I realized something I had never said aloud. I had never done these things for recognition. I did them because it was expected, and because I was conditioned to believe that love was measured in sacrifice. For the first time, I felt no guilt, no obligation. I felt clear, like a fog had lifted. I finally saw it. I was being treated as a solution, not a person. And that clarity, strange as it was, felt liberating. The next morning, I opened the family group chat. Messages flew past, holiday excitement, questions about dinners, updates about gifts. And then, casually, my mom wrote, "Emily will take care of the kids so we can all enjoy Christmas. We're so lucky to have her." I froze. I read it again. I had never agreed. Not in words, not in gesture, not even in thought. Yet there it was, written like a decision that had already been made. I waited for someone to check with me. Just one message, "Are you okay with that?" But it never came. Instead, replies poured in: relief, gratitude, laughing emojis, comments about how easy Christmas would be now. No one asked me. They had already decided. That was the moment I understood the truth. I wasn't seen as a person. I was seen as a solution. And while it wasn't intentional cruelty, the impact was undeniable. I felt the familiar urge to explain myself, to smooth over the situation, to keep everyone comfortable. But this time, I stopped myself. Instead of arguing, I booked my flight. The decision felt calm, steady. I booked a hotel. I didn't announce my plans, I didn't justify them. I simply stopped explaining myself. When my mom called later, her voice was bright, almost casual. She spoke as if everything was already decided. I told her simply, "I'm still thinking about it." There was a pause. No pushback. Just quiet assumption that I would comply, the way I always had. Christmas Eve arrived quickly, faster than I had expected. Normally, I would have been packing toys, wrapping gifts, organizing schedules, preparing everything for everyone else. But that day, I packed my suitcase. Clothes for myself. A few personal things. Each item felt like a small act of rebellion, a quiet declaration. This time, it was about me. Before leaving, I opened the group chat one last time. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then, with a calm I didn't quite recognize as my own, I typed, "I never agreed to babysit. I'll be out of town for Christmas. I hope you all have a great holiday." No emojis. No softening words. Just the truth. I sent it, turned off my phone, and walked out. At the airport, I checked my phone once more. The group chat was exploding. Confusion, questions, frustration. My mom called, frantic. I answered calmly, repeating the truth. I had never agreed. Assumptions are not agreements. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply let it stand. When the plane landed, I felt it, the weight on my shoulders lifting, slowly, steadily. I stepped outside and saw the ocean stretching endlessly, the waves rolling like they had no concern for time or obligations. I hadn't felt this sense of calm in years. For the first time, I was experiencing Christmas without responsibility attached to it. I was free, simply being myself. The days that followed were quiet. I woke without alarms. I ate when I was hungry. I walked without a schedule. I let myself exist without measuring how useful I was to everyone else. It was strange, liberating, terrifying, and wonderful all at once. Life continued without me holding it together, and nothing broke. 2 weeks later, my mom called again. Her voice was quieter, softer. She admitted that Christmas had been chaotic, that plans had fallen apart, that everyone had been overwhelmed. And then she apologized genuinely for assuming my time belonged to everyone else. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't rush to reassure her. I let her words land. And in that moment, I realized something profound. This Christmas didn't break my family. It broke a pattern. A pattern of expectation, of automatic sacrifice, of being seen as a solution instead of a person. Breaking it didn't require anger, confrontation, or distance. It required clarity. One honest decision. Sometimes, the hardest choices are the ones that feel selfish but are necessary. Choosing yourself doesn't make you unkind, or weak, or unloving. It makes you human. That Christmas, I learned to value my own time, my own needs, and my own peace. It was terrifying, yes, but it was also freeing. And sometimes, that's exactly what needs to happen. I realized that boundaries aren't walls. They're maps. They guide others to understand that your life, your time, your energy are yours first. And when I came back home later, the pattern had shifted slightly. Things weren't perfect, but the expectation had changed. And that was enough. When I finally returned home, the house felt different, though nothing had actually changed. The faint smell of leftover holiday meals lingered in the kitchen, the pine from the tree still stood quietly in the corner, and a soft chaos of scattered wrapping paper hinted at the family's recent hustle. But something in the air felt shifted. I could feel it in the subtle glances, the hesitation in footsteps, the small pause before anyone spoke my name. My presence no longer automatically meant responsibility. For the first time, my time was understood as my own. I carried my suitcase to my room slowly, deliberately, as if every step was reclaiming a piece of myself I had been giving away for years. I placed my bag on the bed and just sat there, listening to the silence. For so long, I had rushed through moments, packing gifts, arranging snacks, preparing schedules, adjusting myself to fit into everyone else's holiday. This time, I let myself sit. I let myself breathe. I let myself exist. I thought about the conversations I had missed over the years because I was too busy making sure everything else ran smoothly. I thought about the subtle resentment that had built up, the little sparks of frustration I had buried under politeness. And I realized that my choice to step away had done more than give me a break. It had forced the family to see me differently, even if just a little. I was no longer invisible. I was a person, not just a solution. Later that evening, my mom knocked softly on my door. Her voice, usually bright and commanding during holiday chaos, was quiet, almost hesitant. "Emily," she said, pausing. I didn't realize how much we assumed you'd always be there. Christmas was chaos, and I see now why you needed to step away." I listened. I nodded. "Mom, I love you, and I love the family. But I have to have my time too. I have to be me first sometimes." There was a long pause. I could hear her taking a deep breath. "I'm sorry for assuming your time was ours," she finally said. That one sentence carried more weight than anything I had heard in years. No arguments, no defensive explanations, just acknowledgement. And in that quiet moment, I felt a shift, not just in our relationship, but in myself. I had taken a step that felt uncomfortable, necessary, and terrifying, and it had changed the dynamic in a meaningful way. Over the next few days, I noticed small things that felt revolutionary. I read a book I had been putting off, spending hours just for myself without guilt. I went for walks in the park, letting the cold winter air fill my lungs. I cooked meals just for me, savoring each bite, appreciating the simple act of taking care of myself. These were not grand gestures, but tiny moments of reclamation, proof that my choices mattered. And as I observed my family adjusting to my absence from the usual chaos, I realized something essential. Life did not crumble when I chose myself. My family did not fall apart. They managed, adapted, and even grew in ways I had never noticed before. I had unknowingly created space not only for myself, but for everyone else to take responsibility, to feel accountable, and to grow. That Christmas, I understood a truth I had long ignored. Boundaries are not walls. They're guides. They're maps for others to understand your limits, your needs, and your humanity. By taking care of myself first, I was not being selfish, I was being whole. And in being whole, I discovered something extraordinary. Love could exist without sacrifice being the only measure. Freedom could exist without chaos following behind. And peace could be found, quietly, without explanation.